Hello friends, James Stevenson back with part 6 in my Tesla earnings forecast video review series for Q4 2022. Let's get back to looking at some pretty charts. Right after we check in with Loki. What's Loki doing? He is just resting, not napping in his bed. You can keep an eye on him with the Loki cam right below me if you're not interested in seeing more pretty charts, but here they are. We can look at these if you'd prefer. So we left off talking about non-GAAP earnings per delivery, excluding regulatory credits, for anyone interested in such trivia. There it is. Tesla's profitable, even without regulatory credits. Spread the word. All right, the next chart in my forecast thread was about inventory, production, and deliveries for all sites and models. So we're talking about global totals here. And the first forecast quarter on this page is Q4 of 2022, meaning these are all actuals, all of these going backwards. So what's the orange bar? That's production. The green bar, that's deliveries. So those are the bars at the top. What are they on top of? They're on top of the beginning and ending inventory levels. So what's going on here? Why have you never seen a chart like this before? I think this should be a more popular kind of chart when talking about inventory and production and deliveries. It makes the most sense to me from the perspective of the inventory accounting formula, right? So if you own a business and you charge someone with counting your ending inventory and they bring you back a number, how do you know whether that number is good or not? Should you have an expectation for what that ending inventory count is? Yes, you should, if you've thought the problem through. So that's what this chart illustrates, and I'll use Q4 2022 as my example here. So at the end of Q3, we know how much the ending inventory balance was because Tesla has reported it. And that Q3 ending inventory balance will become the Q4 beginning inventory balance because the last day of the prior quarter becomes the first day of the next quarter, right? So how do you get a good feel for what your ending inventory balance ought to be? Well, what you do is you start with that number, the beginning inventory balance, so this blue bar here, and then to that you add your production. You ought to know how many vehicles you've produced if you're Tesla. You should be keeping track of that with serial numbers and plans to ship every vehicle to the person who ordered it, right? So your computer is going to give you a production total. You can add that to the beginning inventory balance. What does that give you? Goods available for sale, finished goods inventory available to be sold. That's a good number to have if you also know what your deliveries are, and you should know how many vehicles you've delivered during a quarter. So you subtract the deliveries from that number of vehicles available to be sold, and that'll give you a theoretical ending inventory count. And then you should do a physical inventory count and make sure that all the vehicles you ought to have are present and accounted for. And I bet Tesla can do that physical inventory count pretty easily using their software because all the vehicles are connected to the internet. So that's probably a pretty easy process in real life for Tesla, but that's how this chart works. Beginning inventory plus production minus deliveries equals ending inventory. Why are these pink bars getting bigger over time? Well, the answer to that question is because Tesla is ending the wave. Now, these pink bars were going to get bigger one way or the other because it's just so hard to keep trying to suppress trying to optimize the ending inventory to be as low as possible. If that's your strategy, is to try to deliver as many vehicles as possible before the end of every quarter, that's going to be a lot of hard work on your team, and it's going to be expensive to expedite all those vehicles to where they need to go to get delivered before the end of the quarter. And the more vehicles you're producing, the more rapidly you expand your global production, the more difficult it becomes just in terms of the absolute number of vehicles that need to get delivered for you to be able to deliver them all. So now is a good time for Tesla to end the wave and to try to optimize instead for lowering the cost per vehicle delivered. And that's what you're seeing here. Yes, the ending inventory levels are going to be higher, which is not great for your financials in each quarter. But in the long run, if you're lowering your cost per vehicle delivered, that is going to flow through to bottom line earnings better. So, like most things in business, there's a trade-off there. But that is my chart on inventory production and deliveries explained. The next chart in my forecast thread takes kind of a hard left turn to a different topic. This is how much expense Tesla declared in each quarter related to Elon Musk's 2018 CEO Performance Award package, talking about Elon working for stock-based compensation. Elon took no salary at all during this time period, and 100% of this stock-based compensation was at risk, meaning if Elon had failed to make Tesla the company worth more than $100 billion during this time frame, he would have earned no compensation of any kind. He would have been working for free if he had been unable to do that. For starters, that was the first of 12 tranches, the highest of which was a $650 billion market cap in order to get all the compensation possible under this plan. And in addition to that, Elon also had to achieve aggressive revenue growth targets and adjusted EBITDA growth targets, so bottom line profit, or adjusted EBITDA is a profit metric. It's not the GAAP net income number, but it is a number that excludes stock-based compensation, which is what you want. Otherwise, you would have a circular reference in your calculation because the stock-based compensation would go up, and that would affect your bottom line profit number, right? So they set this up in a smart way using adjusted EBITDA as the proxy for profit. And why is this staircase so uneven? Who was the drunken architect who drew up the plans for this staircase? Well, it's uneven because the GAAP accounting rules say progress towards achieving the goals is how you should prorate the expense on your income statement. Stock-based compensation is a non-cash expense, and none of this has anything to do with exercising the stock-based compensation awards. They're really only about progress made towards vesting the stock options. So the board has to vest the options for the CEO to affirm that the goals were achieved. And so the biggest bars on the page happened when Tesla was making the most progress towards growing its market cap, growing its revenue, and growing its earnings, right? That meant that Elon was earning more of the tranches. How much is left? A razor-thin, tiny slice. That's about $7 million left, and then that's it. This is the maximum amount that can be paid over the 10-year life of this compensation plan, $2.283 billion to be precise. Will there be another stock-based compensation plan for Elon? My bet is probably, and in my forecast, beginning a few quarters from now, I'm placeholding $150 million per quarter worth of stock-based compensation for Elon. And that, I think, is all I wanted to say about this chart. So that's the end of this video, and I will outro and say if you've enjoyed today's video, click the like button. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell to get alerted when I post fresh content. And thank you to everyone who supports me through Patreon or by joining my YouTube channel, in particular Kathy Kitchler and Halter Ferguson Financial, who support me at the highest support tier, the Roadster in Space edition, or the SpaceX Edition Roadster tier, and I will see you in the next one.